Today, we're pulling back the curtain on North Korea, one of the most secretive and isolated countries on the entire planet. We're going to break down the system, the architecture of rules, really, that allows for such total control. Now, that sounds like something straight out of a dystopian novel, doesn't it? But it's a reported reality in North Korea. It's a place where control is designed to reach beyond your actions and into your very thoughts. So how in the world was a system like this even built?
All right, first up, a land of absolute control. How did a single family end up with this kind of absolute power?
Okay, so for a little bit of backstory, after 35 years of Japanese rule ended in 1945, Korea was split right in two. You had the North, backed by the Soviet Union, and the South, supported by the United States. Then, in 1948, Kim Il-sung comes to power, the Kim dynasty begins, and just 2 years later, the Korean War breaks out, which really just cemented that divide for good. And get this, the war never officially ended with a peace treaty, so technically, the two Koreas are still at war today. And ever since 1948, that power has stayed within one single family. It's been passed down from father to son, and now to grandson. To keep that iron grip, each leader has layered on more and more rules to control every single facet of life. And this whole system really rests on three main pillars. So pillar number one is all about controlling what you know. Because, if you can control what people see, what they hear, and what they learn, well, you can control what they believe. We all use the internet every day, right? Well, in North Korea, there's no global internet. Instead, they have a closed national network. Think of it like a giant countrywide intranet. Every click, every website visit, it's all monitored by the state. It's basically a digital wall to keep any and all outside information from getting in. And that control is absolute. I mean, all media, TV, radio, newspapers, it's all run by the state. Televisions are even reportedly fixed to a single state channel. And what if you want to watch, say, a South Korean drama or the latest Hollywood movie? If you get caught, that could land you in a labor camp. It's all about preventing what the regime calls ideological contamination. Okay, next up, controlling who you are. The system goes way beyond just controlling information. It actually dictates who you are as a person from the very moment you're born. How do they do this? Through a system called Songbun. The easiest way to think about it is like a social caste system. But it's not based on money or ancient traditions. It's based entirely on how loyal your family is perceived to be to the regime. So this system has three main classes. At the very top, you have the core class. These are the descendants of revolutionary heroes, and they get the best of everything. The best jobs, housing in the capital, the works. Then you have the wavering class. This is the majority of ordinary people, and they're always being watched. And at the bottom, the hostile class. These are people whose ancestors were deemed disloyal for one reason or another. They're basically treated like traitors and given the absolute worst jobs. And the most crucial part of all this is that your songbun is inherited. You are born into it, and it is nearly impossible to ever change it. This level of control seeps into the tiniest details of everyday life. We're talking state-approved hairstyles, banned clothing, like jeans, because they're seen as too Western. Even certain foods are off-limits because of their foreign cultural ties. You can't even travel from one city to another without a government permit. It's that restrictive. And that brings us to the deepest and maybe the most chilling part of this whole system, controlling not just what people do, but how they actually think. This is enforced by one of the regime's most powerful tools for psychological warfare, a terrifying rule that revolves around a single number, 3. It's known as the 3 generations of punishment rule. See, this isn't about punishing one person. It's about crushing any thought of dissent through collective fear. If you're accused of a political crime, it's not just you who goes to a labor camp. It's your entire family, for 3 generations. A baby born inside that camp is born a political prisoner, inheriting a crime they had nothing to do with. And to really reinforce this psychological grip, citizens have to take part in these weekly self-criticism sessions. You have to stand up in front of your peers and confess your ideological mistakes, like maybe you didn't praise the leader enthusiastically enough, or you secretly admired a foreign product. And then your neighbors and coworkers are required to criticize you too. It's this bizarre ritual that forces conformity and basically turns everyone into an informant. Even something like voting gets twisted into a tool of control. Yeah, they have elections and they're mandatory, but there's only one name on the ballot. The whole point isn't choice, it's a public loyalty test. If you don't show up to vote, it's considered an act of treason. This lets the state then report these near 100% turnout rates, which projects this image of perfect, unwavering unity to the rest of the world. So let's talk about life inside the hermit kingdom, because all of this brings up a really important question. I mean, if the country is so completely sealed off from the rest of the world, how does any of this information actually get out? Well, the picture we have has been pieced together bit by bit from a few key sources. A lot of it comes from the incredibly courageous testimonies of defectors, people who have managed to escape. It also comes from things like covert footage smuggled out on USB drives, analysis of spy satellite images, and the very limited stories from tourists who, by the way, are always with an official guide. But in the end, we have to remember that what we know is just a glimpse through a heavily guarded wall. It's a puzzle that's been put together from these little fragments of information, brought out at incredible personal risk. For the millions of people still living under this system of total control, the full reality of their lives, well, that remains locked away from the rest of the world.